Good morning, children. Today we are going to be using our story plan for the Lighthouse Keeper's Supper, which we created yesterday, to start our story writing. Now I'm saying start because this is going to be an extended story writing, which we are going to extend over 3 days. This is because we are not going to be rushing our work, but we are going to be thinking about the quality of our work and how to make sure that our story is as good as it possibly should be. So today we are going to be focusing just on the first two parts of our story, the opening and the build-up. To help us, I have created success criteria, which we are going to look at together to remind ourselves what is it that we are looking for in a good story. So first of all, we're going to make sure that all our sentences are punctuated correctly. This means they all need to start with a capital letter and end with a full stop. Next, we are going to be focusing on the use of adjectives to create expanded noun phrases. I know from your work on Monday, you are all absolutely outstanding at using adjectives to describe nouns. So I know you're all going to be able to do this. Then, if we are working at a higher level, you are going to be looking at using conjunctions. I have put all of the conjunctions we need to be using in year 2 here in brackets. So we are going to be using the conjunction and, but, or, that, if, when, and because. And finally, for those of you who are very good writers and would like to extend your writing, you can try to use a question and an exclamation mark in your writing. So let's have a start. Let's make a start. We're going to start with our opening. And I wrote 2 sentences for my opening. None of them are perfect, but I wrote them because they were just part of my plan. And today I am going to use this information, my plan for the opening, to write a really good opening paragraph. So in my opening, I wrote, "At the old towering lighthouse, there lived a lonely lighthouse keeper called Mr. Beacon." Good. Okay, that's not a bad sentence, but I can make it even better. In fact, I'm going to write one sentence about the lighthouse and a separate sentence about Mr. Beacon, because I would like to expand my sentence. So let's start writing. I'm going to change the font to yellow so you can see it better. Okay, so I want to write a sentence about the lighthouse. So I'm going to start my sentence with a capital letter for there. There once was, and now I want to use adjectives to describe the lighthouse. And I'm going to use 2 adjectives to describe the lighthouse. There was an old towering lighthouse. Okay, so I have my adjectives. I've started with capital letter. I have my adjectives to create expanded noun phrases. Now I'd like a conjunction. I'm going to use conjunction that shone as bright as a star. I really like this expression, that shone as bright as a star, and Isabel came up with this expression in her descriptive writing on Monday. And because we were talking about this before, children, if we hear somebody having a good idea, it is okay to magpie their ideas. So I have magpied Isabel's idea, Isabel's description of the lighthouse, because I really like it. Okay, right, so I have my first sentence which describes the lighthouse, and I have adjectives and even a conjunction that. Brilliant. I am happy with that sentence. Now I'm going to go back to my plan, and I can see here in my plan I wrote there lived a lonely lighthouse keeper called Mr. Beacon. Okay, so how can I make that even better? Even better. I'm going to say capital letter again. At this lighthouse lived a lonely. Again, I'm going to try to use two adjectives. Lonely, and I'm going to magpie Grace's idea from her descriptive writing, and she used an adjective miserable, which I really like. At this lighthouse lived a lonely and miserable man called capital letter for Mr. and capital letter for Beacon. Children, do you remember why we use capital letter for Mr. and capital letter for Beacon? Brilliant, you are correct. It is because they are proper nouns. We call them proper nouns. This is a name of a person, and therefore it must be written with a capital letter. Okay, right. Now I think I should add a bit more information about Mr. Beacon, just to create a little bit of character. So what does Mr. Beacon like doing? Now I'm going to magpie Zach's idea, and I'm going to write, he spent the long and dark evenings. Okay, so I have two adjectives describing the noun. Writing love letters. This was Zach's idea, and I really like that. Love letters to his long lost love. Good. So I'm going to read that one more time. There once was an old towering lighthouse that shone as bright as a star. At this lighthouse lived a lonely and miserable man called Mr. Beacon. He spent the long and dark evenings writing love letters to his long lost love. Super. I have created a little scene there, haven't I? I've almost created a picture with all of my adjectives. Lovely. So I'm going to carry on, and my next sentence in my plan was about the villagers. And in my plan, I said the villagers used to gather in a local pub. Bit of a boring sentence, so I'm going to turn this sentence into a more exciting one. So I'm going to say far below the lighthouse, and I'm going to describe the villagers. And I'm going to use Frankie's idea, and he used the adjective friendly villagers. Far below the lighthouse, the friendly villagers used to gather in a local pub. And now, what are they doing in a local pub? Let's say what they are doing. So use the verb singing happily. I can even put an adverb there. Very good. So can you see, children, how I have expanded my two sentences from my opening, and I have created a whole paragraph. I have in fact written 4 sentences which are full of adjectives, and I even have managed to use my conjunction that. Very good. I am happy with this. Now I'm going to move on to the second paragraph. So I'm going to the second part of my story, which is the build-up. And in the build-up, I wrote, suddenly the light at the lighthouse stopped working. It was a dark night and the passing ships could not see the dangerous rocks. Well, that's okay, but I know that I can make my writing even better. So I'm going to use this idea of suddenly the light at the lighthouse stopped working. And I'm going to be thinking, how can I make the opening of that sentence even better? And this time I'm going to magpie Matthew's idea. He used the adjective. In fact, he used an adverb, bitterly cold evening. He described the evening as bitterly cold. So one bitterly cold evening. I think it's time for me to use another conjunction. So this time I'm going to use conjunction when. One bitterly cold evening when the sea was, let's describe the sea, particularly angry. Now, Emily used this adjective. She described the sea as angry. So one bitterly cold evening when the sea was particularly angry, and the light stopped working. Now, I would like to describe the light, and I'm going to use, I think this was Grace's idea, if I'm correct. She described the light as glorious. So I'm going to use adjective glorious. One bitterly cold evening, when the sea was particularly angry, the glorious light stopped working. Children, have you noticed how I am constantly rereading what I have written? That is because I want to make sure that my work makes sense. And that's what good writers always do. They constantly reread what they have written to make sure it makes sense. Now, okay, so going back to my plan. Suddenly delighted the lighthouse stopped working. I have improved that sentence, made it much, much better by using exciting adjectives and even a conjunction when. So let's look at this sentence. It was a dark night and the passing ships could not see the dangerous rocks. Okay, let's go back to my writing. And I'm going to use the beginning of the sentence with a capital letter. It was a dark night and the passing ships could not see the. I like the adjective dangerous, but I reckon I can make my expanded noun phrase even better. So I'm going to use Poppy's idea. She has described the rocks as sharp, comma, because this is going to be a list of adjective, jagged and dangerous rocks. Very good. Thank you, Poppy, for this idea. It was a dark night and the passing ships could not see the dark, jagged and dangerous rocks. Now, what are those rocks doing? I could say they are sitting at the bottom of the sea, but I am going to use an even better verb, lurking. I love that verb, lurking. Sort of spells out danger, doesn't it, children? It suggests that they're a bit sinister. Lurking under the, and let's think, how can I describe the waves, raging waves. Brilliant. So children, I have created, just using 2 sentences in my opening and 2 sentences in my build-up, I have written 2 full paragraphs. And I have used loads of adjectives and I have used conjunctions as well to make my writing even better. So that's your today's task, children. It is to write really, really good opening and really, really good build-up for your story. Now, if you think your plan is not very good, that's absolutely fine. It's okay to change your plan. It's okay to change your ideas because that's what good writers do. So today, just focus on the writing of the opening and the build-up to the story. But please use the success criteria from here to help you to make your writing as good as possible. Don't move on to writing the main part of the story or the problem, the resolution, or the ending, because that's what we are going to be focusing on Thursday and on Friday. So we're really focusing on the quality of our writing. I am really looking forward to seeing your stories. Bye for now.